Confirming September's I-Ching predictions. Predictions made by Dr. Baolin Wu, leader of the Nei-Jing I-Ching Academy in Santa Monica, California. So many of you may have known that I wrote an article a month or so ago about my teacher, Dr. Baolin Wu's I-Ching predictions he made for the assassination attempt back in July. Well, there were more events forecast for September in that article, and the next one has now come true. He had predicted that September would have more big events in terms of the election. And just the other day, there was another assassin found trying to shoot Trump. In the I-Ching and Nei-Jing Academy and within his Qigong classes, Dr. Baolin Wu likes to reveal what he can about the future of the world and society. But keep in mind, this is not a political class, nor is anyone in it very political at all. If anything, it is a school about the true nature of reality, which is partially why there is a branch/sect in Taoism called the True Reality School. There are many different theologies, religions, factions, political parties, and the like in reality. Most of them have a vested interest in people believing, co-signing, or joining ranks. While Taoism was popular for a good many years in ancient China, the Taoists know better than anyone that there is an inherent ebb and flow in terms of popularity of any spiritual tradition. To be fair, the mystical tradition is only as noteworthy as the accomplishments of its adherents. So unless you have students or practitioners out there doing incredible things, the society will not really take much notice. So this is why it is quite noteworthy that he would make predictions like he has this year. And then they are verified as accurate. If you go back to my previous article, the predictions he made for the recent second assassination attempt are in there. I'll link that article below. But to be fair, the I-Ching is not a new thing. Even though it's not Dr. Wu's aim to become famous, at the same time, society should know that such ancient methodologies do exist. Although many Chinese radio stations in LA want him to talk about the I-Ching, he still turns down most of these requests. In terms of the actual I-Ching calculations, how are they arrived at? How did he find the situation out about Trump? Well, in terms of the I-Ching, there was a prediction that both the thunder trigram and the earthquake trigram came up during Dr. Wu's reading he did late last year. He announced this reading publicly during his class on March 10th, 2024. This class was in front of 40 to 50 Qigong practitioners throughout the world. During that time, he announced this publicly. Then, in July, after the first assassination attempt, he had his students at his academy publish articles about the event as well. He also wanted his students to mention that the upcoming predictions for September, so that he would be documented in that respect as well. But in terms of the interpretations of these events, the thunder is the gunshot, whereas the earthquakes were happening in LA recently as well. So both of these elements presented themselves to him during his reading late last year about this election. You can find further info about the situation in terms of how did he know that the bullet would not kill Trump. Well, it has to do with Trump's own astrology in the I-Ching. Dr. Wu mentioned that other people may have been killed by that type of incident, but Trump would not. This is due to his unique resiliency factor within the I-Ching. Trump is a very resilient type of person within the I-Ching, which is something that Dr. Wu identified during his calculations. He went on to predict that in July through September, there would be a few different incidents. Not only was his July/September reading of the year accurate, but also Joe Biden dropped out to boot. So this is pretty unprecedented within the U.S.'s history. Just like it is very rare for two different assassination attempts to happen. The last president to face such virulent opposition was probably Andrew Jackson, but he was in office during his multiple assassination attempts, and the attempts on his life were years apart. Dr. Wu's exact words in July was that this would be the most brutal election in U.S. history. Also, during the recent Qigong classes, Dr. Wu talked about how interest rates would be lowered. and that as well was mentioned just a few days ago. This also is a very political issue. Controlling the Federal Reserve is somewhat political, even if they're their own independent body, so to speak. So it's still related to the election and other political things that are already in motion. He had mentioned the federal rate drop only a few weeks before that happened during his class in May as well. So while we can say that I-Ching is an arcane science, nothing could be further from the truth. It is still the highest form of science. It's just a type of science that Western science has not yet really recognized or understood within the modern era. Dating back thousands of years, in ancient times, the I-Ching was well known around the world. And as such, they were sought out by world leaders on a variety of issues. The study of I-Ching is closely related to the animal kingdom as well. Both turtles and birds helped to formulate the original hexagrams and helped its practitioners to make predictions as well. So these animals were always revered in Taoism for their different spiritual properties. But through this set of calculation involving dates, birth dates, mathematical matrices, and the like, you can get some basic I-Ching results. Results that on the high level of interpretation can be extrapolated to show society-level events. Dr. Wu has predicted multiple election outcomes in the past as well, Bush versus Gore, and multiple Taiwanese elections. He has publicly predicted those at their respective times. For more information, feel free to reach out to Dr. Wu's office directly in Santa Monica at 310-808-8887 or Austin from the I-Ching Nei-Jing Academy at 310-923-8959.